As the war in Ukraine heads into a second year, there is no let-up in the missiles or in the misery. Russian forces struck the south of the country overnight in a city close to Europe's biggest power plant. Have a look at these images that are circulating on social media from Nikopol, not far from Zaporizhia. And they show some of the damage reportedly caused to dozens of homes, businesses, and energy lines. Another community nearby was also hit. Officials are not reporting any deaths, but they say Russian forces marked yesterday's first anniversary of the conflict by launching more than 100 airstrikes and rockets. Now take a look at these two maps. The left shows Russia's gains in the first week of the war. The right is what those gains look like right now. You'll recall Moscow's forces laid siege to the southern port city of Mariupol for months before finally capturing it. It is still in Russian hands today. Ukrainian authorities have reported fresh explosions there, but did not claim responsibility. Russia has lost 1/5 of the territory it initially seized last March, but it still controls about 17% of Ukraine, or an area about twice the size of Nova Scotia. Today, Russian forces are closing in on a strategic city in eastern Ukraine. Journalist Sarah Larniuk has more from Kyiv.
What we saw in the last day or so is that Russian forces claimed that they've now controlled 2 towns north of Bakhmut. And so that is in keeping with their strategy that seems to be to encircle the city of Bakhmut. At some point, Ukrainian forces will have to make the call about whether or not they withdraw from that city or risk becoming encircled. And so there's that. But as far north in the Kharkiv Oblast, they are pushing west as well there. And so there's a number of different areas where Russian forces are pushing. And just because yesterday on the anniversary there wasn't heavy missile attacks in the capital as was expected, it doesn't mean the risk is gone. Ukrainian forces also said that in the period of 24 hours, Russia doubled the number of ships from their Black Sea fleet that are deployed south of the country that are able to launch missile attacks from there.
And Ukraine also received a boost in military aid. What do you know about that?
Yes, so in some positive news for the anniversary, the first Leopard 2 tanks rolled into Ukraine yesterday. We don't know exactly how many, but they did come from Poland. Poland has been instrumental in convincing other European countries and other allies to provide Ukraine with tanks. And so the first ones came, and we know that by the end of March, Ukraine is expecting to have as many as 120 to 140 tanks received in the country. And they're arriving 1 month after Poland said they thought they could get the basic training period for Ukrainian troops down to 5 weeks. So we can assume that these tanks will be deployed imminently, though some analysts are saying the fact that they're coming in this haphazard manner will somewhat hinder their effectiveness because they can't be deployed all at once. But it is clear that Russia is making that push against Ukrainian forces and trying to get it out the door before all of these new armaments come in for Ukraine.
Sarah Larniuk in Kyiv. Ukraine has suffered an endless barrage of rocket attacks since the beginning of the war, and the nation's second largest city, Kharkiv, is believed to have received the worst of it. Ukrainian authorities there have been collecting the shells from exploded Russian missiles in the hopes that they can be used as evidence of war crimes. CBC's Margaret Evans is there.
I'm standing in the midst of what's known as Kharkiv's rocket graveyard, and more particularly, I'm standing in the middle of a bunch of Smerch and Hurricane rockets. Those are cluster bombs designed to inflict maximum damage, maximum death. There are about 1,000 rockets of all different kinds in this graveyard, according to officials, and that's just about half, they say, of what they've collected, of what's actually been used against Kharkiv over the past year. This city alone, we can't show you where it is because they're worried that Russia might target this graveyard. And that's because, of course, war crimes prosecutors hope to use these rockets as evidence if and when they actually get to the point where they can charge Russia or take Russia to court accused of war crimes. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Kharkiv.